going on, guys? Shane here.
And I'm Vince. Today we are covering everything rear naked choke, the offense, defense, and also how to finish the choke with these big MMA gloves on.
Nice. Let's do it. All right. Before we begin, I got a question. Why is it called a rear naked choke?
Yeah, it's called a rear naked choke because you're actually not using the gi or anything to finish this choke. So it's great for MMA, street, self-defense. I don't need to actually grab onto any cloth to strangle you.
Well, I'm glad we don't actually have to be naked. All right, carry on. Good. Let's do
We'll
it.
carry on. So first things first, guys. When we're looking to finish this rear naked choke, we're going to establish our position. I always want some type of control on Shane since I have these 4 limbs to work with. I'm going to make sure I have my legs in. Okay, so we call these hooks because they're like little meat hooks here. Okay, I'm attached to Shane with my legs. I'm also attached to his upper body with my arms. Okay, what I like to do is get this seatbelt control, and I'm going to hide my choking arm. So in this case, guys, our choking arm is the one that's going to go right across Shane's neck and eventually get across. I'm going to hide that by covering it up and attaching my body really tight. If you see me over here talking to the camera, it's because I'm trying to speak so you can hear me. Ideally, whenever we're doing a rear naked choke, whenever we're working this in a live situation, I'm going to be nice and tight, head close to Shane, making him really uncomfortable and sucking up all this space. Okay, so I've got my position here. I'm covering up this top arm. Now what I want to do is work to get this arm through and grab the back side of the shoulder. Notice, guys, when I do this, I try to slinky my arm in here as far as it can go so that his chin is lined up with my elbow. Once that happens, I know that it's going to be a lot easier for me to choke Shane out. Do you know why this choke works? Or how it works?
We're hitting the carotid arteries?
Yeah, exactly. So
Nice.
what we're trying to do, guys, is cut off the oxygen flow to the brain. So we're not actually choking him out. Like, he can't just hold his breath for a minute and I won't be able to choke Shane out. We're cutting off that oxygen flow by stopping these carotid arteries in the side. Okay, and if you clog those up, it takes a good 5-6 seconds and you're going to pass out. So you'll either get a tap or the other guy will go out. Ideally, with your training partners, you want them to tap first. So the reason why I get that arm all the way through is my bicep covers this carotid artery and my forearm is going to cover the one on the opposite side. Okay, once I reach through, I'm going to go ahead and sink in the second arm, and it's going to slide actually behind Shane's head. So my palm is facing myself, and I'm getting right under Shane's head, okay? This side of the knuckles is going under, if you guys can feel the back of your head there, that part that sticks out, that's where I want to slide my second arm through. And now once I have this position, I'm squeezing, just like a snake, nice and tight, until I get my tap. Okay, we don't want to try to yank his head off. It may work, but that doesn't really necessarily mean that the choke is on. It's going to make Shane really uncomfortable, but ideally we want to choke him, right? Cut off those carotid arteries. So we want to squeeze everything together and really crunch in nice and tight.
Yeah, I felt much tighter that way as opposed to trying to stretch me out.
Yeah, exactly. Oftentimes too in jiu-jitsu, guys, you'll get these chokes on and you can like neck crank people, and maybe your training partners will tap because you don't want to get your head yanked off in training. But come competition and fights and stuff, people are going to be able to sit through that. So you always want to make sure you're going for the choke and not just the head crank.
I believe it was at your gym, at Systems Training Center, that we were taught that Tyron Woodley against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson was making that mistake. We was really trying to stretch him out when he should have really compressed down. And Wonderboy survived it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you see it all the time. I actually I got bulging C4, C5 from one of my first jiu-jitsu competitions because the guy was just cranking on my neck and I really didn't want to tap. He wasn't choking me. And it's one of those things where some guys they won't tap to that. You really got to hit the choke on them.
Right.
Cool. So when we're here and sinking that choke in, there's a few different options. So if Shane's trying to fight my hands and control, the reason why I like to hide this choking arm, man, is he'll grab this top of this arm, and now I'll be able to let go and shoot this one through. So that's a nice little sneaky technique I like to use again, hiding that choking arm. Now another technique, let's say Shane's defending really well, he's got his chin down. You can also get underneath this nose and pull his chin and his face up to slide through. Okay?
So with that one,
yeah,
I've always wondered, because it's very uncomfortable. Is that frowned upon in training with a partner, your teammate?
Yeah, it definitely is. So ideally, you don't want to be doing this in training to your friends, right? You don't want to be grinding on their face. If you grab underneath this part of your nose here and push it up really hard, that sucks. It hurts. So it's something that most of my jiu-jitsu professors have said, that's something to use during competition, during a fight, but not necessarily in training. So try it once or twice with your friends. Make sure they know what's coming. I tend to not really use that in training just because it's kind of mean to our buddies and we don't really want to do that.
Gotcha. Only in competition.
Yeah, exactly. Only in competition. So those again are a few different setups that I like to use. And also one more thing to talk about as well is I always really want to take my opponent down to the side that my choking arm is. So notice my choking arm this time is my left arm, and I'm taking him to the left side because once I start sinking this in, I'm getting my choke in. If Shane starts to turn this way, he has nowhere to go, and it's actually making the choke tighter. Okay, if I drop him down to this side with my left arm in, one, it doesn't give me the room to kind of get my arm around behind the back of the head, and two, this is exactly where Shane wants to go. He wants to actually put the back of his head to the ground and scoot off the side like this and get out of my choke. So very important too that we're not just sitting here trying to choke someone out, sitting like this, because it's never going to happen like that. We may be demonstrating it right now, but we always want to take our opponent down to that choking arm side. Let's go ahead and start some of the defense.
All right, awesome. All right, so one of the things, all right, so now that we're talking about defense, one of the things that I was told is you're never supposed to cross your legs for a tighter grip. Why is that?
Yeah, well, rule of thumb is to never really cross your feet. And the reason why is if you do that, I can actually ankle lock you right now by crossing my legs over yours and pushing up until I get the tap. So I'm just crossing my feet over Shane's and I'm moving up with my hips. And essentially it's putting a lot of pressure on his ankles there.
Yeah.
And it sucks, right?
That makes sense, okay.
So in general, you don't want to do it. Now, all of these things, especially with grappling and stuff, whenever someone says don't ever do that, usually you can do it some of the time. Right. So you do see some high-level people cross their legs, but you'll always see them cross their legs up here, higher up in the body. When it's up there, there's no way I'm going to get my feet around, and they're really locked in nice and tight. So don't cross down here. Crossing here is okay. If you don't have the flexibility, if you're not comfortable with this position, I would say for now, just don't cross your legs.
Gotcha.
Keep those feet open, and there's no way I can foot lock you like that.
Got it.
And
cool.
one thing, it's important too to realize that could happen because some guys, usually you'll see it at the lower level, people will be here and then purposely try to cross your feet and hit you with that.
Wow.
So you got to be aware of that too.
Got it. Okay. Thanks, Coach.
Yeah. All right, so Shane's right here on my back. Again, first things first, always to defend, I want to make sure my chin is down. Okay, we never want to get caught looking around here doing this action because we're going to get choked. So my chin's going to be down and I'm controlling these hands. Remember that trick we just said about covering up the top arm, the choking arm? When I tend to grab these hands and start hand fighting here, I like to grab this one because I know it's a choking arm. Okay, I'm not going to fall for the trick of, hey, his hands are here, I'm going to grab, and then Shane shoots this one through and gets that choke on me. So I'm going to try to control this top wrist, especially with these MMA gloves. I can really grab right here on this glove. Don't get your fingers in, that's illegal. But I can grab this wrist and I can anchor in. Okay, another thing I like to do is start scooting my butt down. See how it makes you kind of slide off my back?
Yeah.
So now it's going to be a lot harder for you to really secure that nice tight position we want for the rear naked choke. So I'm scooting down, I'm controlling the hands, and now I'm going to drop to this side here. Okay? Again, we're going to do everything opposite from the offense. So Shane wants me to go that direction. I'm going to take him this side over here. Now I'm going to drag my head across his head here. Start to work getting my head on the ground. And I can strip, and push till I can get free. And then the scramble is going to happen from right there. So now let's start from an even worse position. Okay. Let's say Shane gets this arm across. And he's starting to lock up the full choke. Okay, now I'm going to start to get into some trouble here. Obviously, if the choke's in, it's going to be very hard to defend, so I'm going to try to dig this chin. I'm going to fight this hand. Now, if he's starting to grip over here, I'm going to reach back and fight that second hand. All right? Sometimes guys will do this and just grab on the top of my head. And you see that a lot with MMA, where guys will get here, and now they're going to start to work their choke. Yes, you will get choked if you stay here. But one thing people forget to do is you can still fight this choke, okay? Right here, I'm not just going to start tapping because it's done. I'm going to fight for as long as I can to break this top arm off of my head. Okay? Again, choking arm is up. I grab the wrist. I pull it down. Now what I like to do is quickly swim this arm underneath. So now I have an overhook. Now I don't need to worry about this arm. Now I need to worry about this choking arm. I can fight with both my hands. We're battling. I'm fighting. Now I've got control of this choking arm too. One thing I like to do, my coach Ian Harris from Fight Science, this is a great technique we always work on, is 2 hands on one wrist here on this choking arm, and I'm going to extend it. Okay, so notice, see how Shane's shoulders is going nice and straight like that? Shane, do you feel like you have control here?
Not at all.
Not at all, right? Yeah. If it's right here, now try to control.
Yeah.
Now he's using his bicep. He has more control of his arm. So make sure you're yanking this arm forward. So now I have the control, and I'm going to pop my head through. All right, so now you can see I'm starting to slip out.
Yeah.
But if I just try to turn into you, maybe you're going to pull guard, maybe you're going to get a triangle on me, maybe you're going to scramble and keep me on my back. So now I'm just going to take you back the opposite direction. And now you have nothing stopping me from scooting out to the side.
Right.
Okay, so I'm getting out of this hook. Even if you have this hook nice and tight, I'm extending my legs straight, I'm breaking it, or I'm breaking it with this top foot, getting my hips over, keeping this arm extended. And now we get into that scramble position again, or we're both going to try to reverse and get on top.
Right.
But either way, we're breaking down. We're hand fighting. We're keeping our chin down. If you got that second arm over my head, always grab that. Okay, yeah. Which is the reason why we like to teach it where the arm comes behind the head, because there's really no way to get out of it once you're there.
Yeah, and one thing I just want to add on real quick, if you find yourself in the position where someone's got your back, don't give up, because it's actually really hard to finish the rear naked choke against someone who's defending it well. So definitely apply these techniques.
Absolutely, man. Fighting is all about willpower.
Yeah.
So in a case like that, you know, it's not over until you start seeing that black creeping in, right?
Yeah,
so always be fighting the hands, keeping the chin down, and just battle from there.
And that takes energy to be the one to try to finish that choke, right? So
absolutely.
They only have a limited amount of time. I mean, there's guys that are really good at it, but still, always fight to the end.
Exactly. I mean, you can have a guy on your back just squeezing their arms out, and even if you don't get free from their back, maybe the round ends or whatever it is, and their arms are totally toast. So you come in the next round, you're ready to go, and they're already done. Awesome. So it's always a good idea, man. Willpower.
Good stuff.
Keep your head in the game.
I love it, Coach. Thank you.
So here's a great variation for the rear naked choke, especially when we're wearing these big MMA gloves. Sometimes when I start to slip this second arm through, Shane's battling really well. Let's say he's grabbing my arm, exactly, and I can't get free, especially when the gloves are so big like this. It's easy for him to grab. Okay, so instead of trying to go completely through the backside like this, Shane's gonna be fighting, I'm gonna switch and go palm to palm. So Gable grip, my thumbs are attached to my pointer fingers here. I'm Gable gripping and I'm squeezing this nice and tight. I'm bringing this elbow around and back behind Shane as I complete it by pulling nice and tight around Shane's neck. Right? One finishing technique on this one too. Sometimes if you can't get the choke this way, I like to bring my elbow back up, and this one is going to kind of crush the windpipe there. So rip this elbow up to his opposite shoulder, and you're going to get a tap. So I use this actually in my second fight. I couldn't really get my second arm around the top and behind the back of the head, so I switched it to the 2-on-1 there. Just finished it from there.
2-on-1 Gable grip. All right, guys, there you have it. Everything you need to know about the rear naked choke.
If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you.
Till next time, I'm Shane.
I'm Vince.
Fight tips for the underdogs.